First off, Happy New Year. Bruce Naylor, your Boomer Consumer, and I wish each and every one of you a joyous, prosperous, and happy, just a great 2023. And apologize for my voice. I'm just now getting over COVID. Today, finally tested negative. So did my wife. We both had it during the Christmas break, which I thought would be a real productive time for me, only to spend it pretty much in bed shivering with the chills and fever. It's not pleasant, folks. It's not pleasant. But I wanted to get this video out because this is something I wanted to talk about for months. And that is a kind of a response to a video made by OCD Hi-Fi guy. It goes by Mikey. And I have the link to the video I'm about ready to discuss in the description below. And if he watches it, I really do enjoy his channel. I think he's a super intelligent fellow, but he's got some very strong opinions. And this is something I think is worth picking up the discussion on. And the video was basically his opinion about turntables and vinyl and how archaic and old-fashioned this stuff is. So let me just kind of briefly give you his hypothesis about vinyl. So he approached it as if you were talking to a newbie, somebody wanting to get into the hobby, not to even go down the vinyl rabbit hole. Don't do it, all right? You're not going to match the sound quality of a good DAC and streamer anywhere close price-wise with vinyl, right? And he started riffing on, you know, these $200,000 turntables that are essentially audiophile jewelry that gives you some kind of bragging rights. And what he did say about vinyl is if you go into it for the nostalgia, for something to do, for the fun of, you know, crate digging and collecting records, great. Get you a little $500, $1,500 turntable, or he called it a record player, and have a good time. But you cannot seriously consider yourself an audiophile if you're looking at vinyl. You can't even come close price-wise. And, you know, he did. He mentioned $100,000, dollar turntables. You got the cartridges and the $50,000 tone arms and all that. Where a good DAC, and he mentioned, what is the name of the... Yes, the Playback Designs MPD-8 DAC, which sells for around 27 grand, with the streamer built in, would just stomp all over a vinyl rig. Now, he also happens to own a reel-to-reel. If you want the best possible analog, if you're truly serious about analog, in his opinion, well, then nothing's going to beat the source. And how was analog recordings made? And that was recorded to tape. So if you wanted to get, be an analog purist, then get a reel-to-reel, right? Tapes are, he said, around $300 a piece. I've owned one reel-to-reel in my life years ago, and they're just real super futzy machines. And my experiences with reel-to-reel wasn't all that great. But what you need is a good quality DAC and a streamer, especially one with a volume control. And if you can get a DAC with a streamer built in and volume control, you don't even need a preamp, right? You just plug it right in an amplifier, hook up your speakers, and you're in business, right? And it's true, in my opinion. I agree with him to a certain extent. If you want to get the closest to the analog recording, then the way it was recorded was on tape, and that would ultimately be the most or the best way to listen to an analog recording is how it was recorded, which was on tape. And if you go to transfer tape to vinyl, vinyl is going to be a bit on the lossy side. You have to do stuff to make it all fit onto the grooves of the record and so forth, and I get it. And if you have a large record collection, you're just basically showing you're a dinosaur, in his opinion. Now, one thing about Mike, I think he goes by Mikey Younger. He doesn't pull punches, and he's not really what you'd call a diplomatic kind of guy. Whereas I look at it a little bit differently. So I made myself some notes on here. And I do agree that if somebody's starting out and they have, most people have a budget. And I think that DAC that he's talking about retails for around 27 grand. Most people, probably 99.9% of you that watch my channel, would not be able to afford a $27,000 for a DAC. And if you could, you wouldn't spend that amount of money anyway. Mike goes on to say that nothing is going to sound better than the original source. Again, you're a dinosaur if you have a large vinyl collection, because streaming is going to be a better way to go. And he's even taken his reel-to-reel tapes and recorded them to DSD, 4 times DSD. And he can hardly tell the difference between playback on the tape and through his very expensive DAC and DSD. All right. If you take a digital recording, right, something that was mastered digitally, and then transfer it to vinyl, it's not going to, in my opinion, it's not going to sound as good as if you listen to it in digital. Conversely, if you take analog, right, if you take an analog master tape and record it to, say, 4 times DSD, it's going to sound extremely close, if not just as good as the analog recording. I agree that digitally mastered music can and probably does sound superior to most analog and vinyl recordings. However, that being said, there's more to being an audiophile than just the technology of how it gets to your ears, but rather the whole experience. And some people, I think digital leaves them cold. Now, I've just started over the last year rebuilding a vinyl collection, and I did buy a vintage, fully refurbished Denon turntable. It's a turntable I lusted after in my youth, and now I have one. It is the DP65F fully automatic turntable with a Nagaoka, I think the M110 cartridge. And to me, listening it to my system, I have a vintage Pioneer receiver, and I'm using the Wharfdale Linton speakers. The music can sound utterly amazing, and I am pleased. And I think that's what's important, the experience of how it sounds to you. Whether you're consider yourself an audiophile or just somebody hey, happens to enjoy spinning vinyl, I see nothing wrong with it. Would I advise somebody getting started to invest in vinyl or digital? Well, I think I would advise you to get started digitally and then work your way towards getting into vinyl. But what I would not do is say that it's an archaic, dead, stupid medium to get involved with. I think spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on gear, on audiophile jewelry, if you've got the money to burn for that sort of thing, great. I don't think you have to spend anywhere near that to get fantastic sound out of a turntable and vinyl. And again, it's going to depend on the mastering process. If it was mastered in analog and intended to be on vinyl, it's probably going to sound its best on vinyl. That's my opinion. Conversely, if it was mastered in digital and intended to be listened on CD or be streamed, then I think that's the way it's going to sound the very best. But it can still sound fantastic either way. Now, Mikey's hypothesis that the superior audio quality of vinyl is an illusion and an archaic idea. Well, I don't know, because I've heard some really fantastic sounding vinyl, and there's a warmth and a beauty to the tone of the music, the timbre of the music, that when I stream it back, whether it's on Amazon HD or Apple Music, just sounded a little bit better, even on my turntable, which is nowhere near a $100,000 turntable, nowhere even close. All right. But there was just a warmth and a sweetness to it that I could not capture on a digital copy, either CD or streaming. Be that explanation, well, maybe you could call it pleasant sounding distortion, but it's just sounded more engaging, more dynamic, more present than I heard in a digital format. All right. And it's an album by Dire Straits, and just sounds fantastic on vinyl that I haven't yet been able to compare digitally on my system, and I do not have a high-end audio system. But I do agree with Mike, OCD Mikey. Again, if you're getting started, I would definitely recommend a good streamer and a DAC amplifier to get started. Preamp, no, you really don't need a preamp if your streamer, your DAC has a volume control. You can just plug right into an amp and off you go. So that's a different video for a different time. But I do believe that vinyl has its place, and if you want to fully explore this hobby, then you owe it to yourself to also listen to vinyl as well as digital. But I want to get your opinion in the comments down below. Bruce Naylor, your Boomer Consumer. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.